Please subscribe and click on the little notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. So we're going to make another Toblerone recipe, and I have some very ripe bananas. I bought a really big bunch, and it's even, they're so ripe now they're like splitting open. So what better to make with ripe bananas than banana bread, as everyone knows. And what goes really well with bananas? Chocolate. And you know I have this big Toblerone. I'll put in this image here, and I've got one piece here which is about 400 grams. So my plan is, I'm going to speed through this. I'll put the recipe in the description below, and it's basically your banana bread. But I should say something that's very special. This is the cookbook that my grandmother used, my Grandma Ullman in New York City. And the one she had was from like 1941, and it was falling apart. And the title's The Settlement Cookbook, and it was, in her version, The Way to a Man's Heart. And in this one, I'll take a picture of it so you can see it better. It says it but really small. And some of the recipes are not the same as the original ones from my grandmother because they decided to take out all the good stuff, the sugar, the butter, the fat, and everything. So sometimes I've actually put it back in here because I really want to make it like it used to be. Now, this is under the quick bread, so this is banana bread, but there is also a banana cake, which is very similar. But I prefer to do the banana bread. So my version that I'm going to do is banana bread muffins or cupcakes. So I've prepared this. So instead of doing the loaf, I'm going to be putting them in here and then put a piece of broken Toblerone down inside of it, so it's sort of like a middle bit. Toblerone is quite tender in itself because it has like nougat in it and it's not as hard to eat. So I don't think it's going to, when it gets cold again, I don't think it's going to be really hard to bite into. I think it'll still be tender. So I think that'll be a really nice way to use the Toblerone where you can still have it as a texture. A couple of my friends gave me recipes where you melt the chocolate down and make it like a chocolate cake, but I thought I really want to use the Toblerone as Toblerone and not as a chocolate. So if anybody has any ideas or recipes for me, please put them in the comment below. And while I'm at it, please subscribe to my channel, Follow Lisa. I do one video a week, and I have different playlists. I do all sorts of things, as you can see, and I welcome all your comments as well. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll get on with the recipe. So I'm just going to speed through the recipe now, and you can follow it through the speeding. If there's any noise in the background, I'm very sorry, but I've got the oven on and it's got like a fan going. So let's get started. So I'm just going to double the recipe. Here. Alright, so you're going to need 3 bowls. One for the dry ingredients, one for the bananas and the milk, and then one is, so I'm going to put the bananas in here, and one is for the sugar and eggs. So what you need to do with this, oh, and I should say one more thing. Normally, it's the kind of recipe that I would be doing when I haven't thought about doing it in advance. And so I don't always have all the ingredients. And one of the things I never, ever, ever, ever have is buttermilk. So what I do is I just take the normal quantity of milk to buttermilk and I add vinegar to it, and that makes buttermilk. But today, because I actually was going to do this recipe, I didn't even have any eggs, so I had to run out and get some eggs. So luxury, we have buttermilk today. But honestly, you don't need to have it. It's just as easy to do with normal milk, and just add a little vinegar to it. You'll see it curdles right away. You can even use yogurt or sour cream. Anything that's sort of like that texture as well. So smash the bananas. So I like to mash them up pretty good. If they're nice and ripe, that obviously is going to help. These are the perfect ripeness. They're not so mushy that they've gone grainy. And I don't like to do this with a mixer because I find it makes the texture not very nice. Having every now and then a little tiny piece of banana, it doesn't feel weird when you're eating it. It just gives it a little bit more moisture, I find. So I like to do it all by hand. Alright, so this is the texture I'm looking for the bananas. So that's 4 bananas. My original recipe, this is how it is, 3 different bowls. In this one, it is made it into 2 bowls. And I find that it doesn't have the same texture if you add them in 2 bowls. You really kind of need to do them separately. So to the mashed bananas, I'm going to put the milk. So I can do that now. Alright, so now I've got my 3 bowls. This is the flour, salt, baking soda, baking powder. So I'm going to do half and stir it. And then we're going to put half of this. Some people like to put cinnamon in here as well, walnuts. You can really put whatever you want. The thing is, once you've actually made your cake, you can personalize it any way you want. If you want to add, like I'm doing, chocolate chips or anything else, it's fine. Alright, so I'm just going to do this. So it's half and half. There. Here. This. Of course, I'm going to be giving some of it away. And doing it as muffins or cupcakes, there's more for us that way too, because you don't have to give like a whole one away. Alright, that looks like the perfect consistency. Okay, so the easiest way to make any kind of individual cakes is always use a scooper. So I'm just going to see how much that fills up. So I did it like that and then plop it in. I think that's going to be good. It's going to rise up a little bit. So I'm going to try and keep them all the same. And also we're going to put a piece of chocolate in it. And that's probably going to add a little bit more volume. And it's pretty easy. You don't make such a mess with this. The consistency of this to scoop is good. It feels good. It's not too wet. It's coming out really easy. When I'm doing like a chocolate cake that's a bit dense, this is perfect as well. I always have some of these liners handy, so if you ever run out, make sure you always buy some, have them handy in the basement or your cupboard or your cooking drawer. Wow, this is going to be good. Okay, so that's already 12, and I've got another one over here. I think this will be good. I'm also invited out tomorrow night, so if I have enough, I can take some as a little hostess gift, which is always nice. And I've got somebody bringing me something in about an hour, so she can have a few of these when she comes as well. Yeah, I think actually I'm not going to have any leftover dough. I think this is really just going to make, whoops, the 2 pans, which is perfect. So if I was doing a single recipe, which is what I've put in your description below, it would make 12 muffins or 1 loaf cake, like a loaf bread. But this is looking good. So, I mean, that's the 4 bananas. Alright, so I'm trying to keep it the same. Okay, so I've got this much left. And that's pretty good. I think what I'll do is I'll just divide that up a little bit. They all look about the same, but I think I'll give the corners a little bit more. This almost feels like a waffle dough. It's sort of like stretchy. Alright, so that means I have to divide this into 24. So that's... let's try that. You see how tender this is? Oof, that's good. Oh, that's going to be so good. Alright, so I'm going to have to think how I'm going to do, how big these are going to be. Alright, so that's 6. Alright, that looks good. I'll just keep chopping, and then I'll just take the good ones and put them in. And then the ones, the crumbs, we'll have to eat it. So you see why Toblerone is so tender. You really don't want to mess around with it by melting it and using it as like a liquid chocolate, because it kind of ruins the whole idea, for me anyway. But again, if anybody else has an idea of a better way or another recipe, an alternative, then please send it along. When I started this, I was thinking, oh, I'll do like a chocolate cake or something, but I thought, you're going to lose the flavor. Okay, so I'm looking for this size. So I'm going to stick it in. I think I'm going to leave it so it's sticking up a little bit. That's a big one. Ooh, that one goes down to the bottom. Oh my goodness. This is an experiment. I really have no idea. That one's too big, but somebody will eat it. So if you were using a normal Toblerone, I think it would be like 1 triangle per cupcake. So you would just need to count. I think normally, I'm trying to think how many are in a bar. I think it's 12. Need to research that. If you know the answer, put it below. See this, I think it's even bigger than 1 piece of Toblerone, which is a good one here. This one. There. So all of that is going to be for us to eat. That's pretty yummy. Alright, so I've already put the oven on 180 degrees Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit, and it says 1 hour for a cake. So for cupcake, I'm going to check it. Let's try and check it after like 10 minutes just to see, and I'll let you know in the recipe how many minutes I put it. Okay, it's been 19 minutes and I think they're ready. It looks good. Perfect. What do you think of that? Smells good. You can see the Toblerone in it. I don't think that's going to hurt anybody. Okay, so they're still cooling, but I just want to put them, I find it easier, they cool a little bit better if they're on here, because the metal doesn't hurt. So the ones that I did on the corners, remember I had to add a little bit extra dough, so they are a little bit bigger, but it looks like it's, I'm sure it's going to be good, regardless. It depends on how much you want to eat. You want a big portion or a little portion. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and click on the little notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos.